Is the day, boys and girls, where I mark myself as 10 years of being sober. Wow. Those of you that are new to the channel and don't really know what's been going on, for the past couple of years now, I've marked my little journey once a year when this day hits. Talk a little bit about the triumphs of coming through of struggling with substance abuse and then how it can get better. So as I've done in all the other years, we'll tell a little bit about my story and kind of how I brought myself up from going into that path of life to, well, where I'm at now. With all that being said, let's talk about it a little bit. Let's get into it. What do I say? The transition. Those of you that are new to the channel and have not seen these videos before, or have no idea that this thing is happening, hi, my name's Dakota. I don't just breed geckos, but I am what you call a recovering addict of 10 years to this day. Absolutely fantastic. Put your W's in the comment section now for me. Once a year, I like to talk about it a little bit for those of you that might still be struggling or just overcoming your addictions and don't really know where you are, because trust me, I was in the same exact boat as you guys were 10 years ago. Honestly, I think I'm gonna do this video a little bit different from all of my others, and that just stems from the fact that I've been sober for so long that it doesn't really, almost forgetting about those times, right? The videos help me remember the fascinating stories, and it makes me still question this day how I am still alive, but... Story starts pretty similar to everyone else. At the ages of around 14 to 15, I started smoking cigarettes and the ganja because I wanted to be a cool kid. That really is just the epitome of a burnout in high school. As this goes on, and I ended up dropping out of high school, I started getting into the harder stuff, starting with some snow and then finally ending with ice. In the street terminology, because if I use the real words, I think YouTube will say this will be a bad video and not show anyone. I have many sad, funny, hilarious, and tragic stories that went down through this about 4-year period. However, I talked about them enough. You guys can check out the past videos talking about all those stories. This time I kind of want to switch it up a little bit. Sum up the experience. The end of the day, my rock bottom was me living in a Motel 6, living with a girlfriend that was constantly cheating on me and did not really give a shit about me, just destroying my emotional and mental health further and further and destroying my concept of what love really is. But finally, the ticking point, the straw that broke the camel's back, if you will, was the fact that a 25-year-old man that I was hanging out with at the age of 17 to 18 was telling me, here's what we're gonna do, buddy. We are all gonna move to Dallas. 6 people are gonna move in a hotel room, and we are gonna work at this cupcake shop. We're gonna make cupcakes. And that's when I knew, I don't want to be 25 living in a hotel with 6 other people and doing cupcakes. I don't want to be that guy. And I was going down the path that would end up leading me to be exactly like my friend. That's cupcakes, man. Old Dakota could be a cupcake boy, right? I'd probably be dead at this point, let's be honest. At this point, I knew a change needed to be made, and it was at that point I called my old dearest mom up. She broke down crying when she heard my voice, because she hadn't heard from me in about 2 years or so, and I finally decided to make the move of traveling 2,500 miles to the northeast, where I am today, taking away from all of my friends and anyone I ever knew, and starting my life all the way back over at the age of 19. That I want to do this video a little bit different than how I do the other ones, and that stems from the fact is you guys have already heard those stories. You guys have already heard what happened when I came back and started living in New Hampshire and how I climbed my way up a little bit, but instead I want to do something that can be a little more inspirational for those that are still struggling. It's going to be, I want to outline how I built my business, right? We've talked about the jobs and everything and how I climbed everything, but I haven't really talked about how I started Dakota Blue Exotics and how I climbed to be where I am today. I'll show you guys that if you are a recovering addict and you have a passion for animals and you want to start doing what I'm doing right now, you don't have to have a boatload of money. You don't have to have a lot of cash to invest to get in. I started this business with 3 crested geckos that cost me about $300 in total invested, and that was over about a year and a half of getting these 3. It ended me to where I am today. Wow, how did that happen? Well, let's talk about it. Started this business back in 2019, as I mentioned before, with 3 crested geckos. Those crested geckos were Spots, Xena, and Pebbles. Those were the 3 ones that I was doing. We're producing some babies like Speckles, Phoenix, Galaxy, things like that we held back and then started breeding ourselves years later. At that time, I was also reinvesting into the project, getting stuff like Cookie, who used to be a subadult, and Spice, that was also a tiny little baby at that time. Although I've definitely made a lot of mistakes in this business, business, I think I'll take that as a separate video, kind of showing you guys what not to do when you're trying to grow this into a full-time gig. We're going to not be talking so much about the projects that failed and the pets that I acquired, and more talking about the successes that happened. Trust me, there are a lot of failures in this. This was not a steady climb up. This is more of like boom, boom, boom a little bit, boom, boom, boom. A lot of successes and a lot of failures at the same time. I don't want to make this a 4-hour long video like a documentary, because let's be honest, who would watch 4 hours of me? That would be pretty boring. But let's continue. At that point, I started then having about 5 to 7 crested geckos. I held holding back the best of the best and really started growing stuff out where we were able to breed Cookie, we were able to breed Spice and make some Tiger Super Dalmatians with Phoenix and Galaxy, and really started getting this crested gecko game going. Then over into late 2019, my partner at the time really wanted a tokay gecko. I held the stereotypes that in my heart, because I never owned one before, that tokay geckos were awful, junkyard animals, why would anyone want a tokay? But she wanted a tokay. When your partner wants a tokay and you are constantly getting animals, you gotta get her the reptile, because then they'll be more into it in what you do. So I ended up doing that. I absolutely fell in love with the species. I took in a bunch of wild caughts, acclimated them, started breeding them. Which brings me to my very exciting thing, and that's going to be the reduced pattern tokay. It was the first morph that I put money down on. I bought a subadult that was going to be ready to breed the following season for $450. It's the most money I ever spent on the gecko. Before that, it was nowhere, I think around $200. This is when I started making the big leap into investing into the business. As we ran the business more and more, we started getting more crested gecko eggs, some tokay eggs going, and things were going pretty well, so I decided to reinvest that into more tokay geckos. We started getting a couple of the green galaxy mutations. I had a powder blue patternless female at the time, and then that is when the person that actually sold me the reduce was getting rid of some of their granite tokay, so I got in on the granite project, getting 1 male and 1 het female years ago for the price of $1,200. Honestly, at that point in time, I think that was a mistake. $1,200 for a granite mutation that still is not proven to this day. We are getting very close to proving it out, but at that point in time, all those years ago, this was again like the 2020 time, it was a very bad business decision to make, but I wanted to be known as the tokay guy, so I started putting a lot of money into tokays. Now, things were getting a little bit crazy over here at that time with Dakota Blue Exotics. This is about the 2020 to 2021 time. I was just kind of getting whatever I wanted and trying to breed it. Now, while you may be asking yourself, Dakota, weren't you doing the same thing now? Aren't you just getting a bunch of random reptiles, acclimating them, and trying to breed them? Yes, but I also have about 10 or 11 years of keeping reptile experience, and now about 6 to 7 years of breeding experience. Starting the business in 2019, I was breeding beforehand, but it's more of a hobby. Remember, old Dakota did not really know what he was doing. When I was very new to breeding, and especially breeding different species, it was a very not good time, and I was wasting a lot of money. We were doing a lot of red-eyed crocodile skinks. That was a big project of us way back in the day. Mexican black king snakes we were doing. We were trying to get those going. This is when they were up in the market. They were huge. Everyone wanted an MBK. They were going for like $300 for babies. It was an insane time. In 2021, this is where the big opportunity happened. My tokay geckos were doing great. My crested geckos were doing great. And I had the opportunity to buy a super red tokay. To this day, the most money I have spent in one sitting on one animal. I bought that super red tokay gecko for $3,500. I sold off a lot of projects, including the Mexican black king snake project. Remember, this is when it was at the peak of the time, so I got a lot of money out of that. And then selling off a couple more projects and a lot of my babies in order to purchase this animal. Funny enough, then 3 years later, I think, probably about 3 years later, she was about 4 at the time. I got her when she was about 8 months old. I ended up never breeding that animal and actually selling her to get all of the other mutations that you guys have seen over here. Now keep in mind also, this is when COVID hit, and old Dakota just got laid off from his job, and that means old Dakota was making that big stimmy money. We were getting about $600 a week. Now I think I'm making more, but at the time, that was the most money I've ever made. I was making like $2,500 a month off of this. It was incredible. I was buying a lot of reptiles, a lot of camera gear, the $300 mic. I spent a little bit of under $1,000 on all of my camera setup, my lighting, and everything like that, because I really wanted the YouTube to take off and to continue growing this business. And around that time, there was a shop that was doing a huge deal on all of their geckos, and I saw a ready-to-breed pair of Chihuahua geckos for under $1,000. At that point, point, that sale went on at midnight California time, so I stayed up till 3 a.m. right when that timer hit midnight, then bought those Chihuahua geckos to breed. It absolutely fantastic for me the first year, giving me 6 healthy, incredible babies, and have not given me a solid clutch since. It's been nothing but duds. That's the way it goes sometimes. You get an amazing year, and then you just get a worse and worse year every single time. It was at this point in time that Old Dakota has made the biggest mistake that I have ever made at Dakota Blue Exotics. I kept rearranging the tokay geckos. We used tubs in a grow tent at one point. We were using a lot of tanks, not PVC like we do now. Just kind of making mistake after mistake with the project, which meant we weren't getting any eggs for tokays. Getting discouraged after spending about $10,000 on all of my tokays, including the morphs and everything that goes into them, I decided to halt the tokay project. I was not going to buy any more mutations, and Instead, I was going to invest in New Caledonian. To be more specific, I was going to invest into crested geckos. The biggest mistake I have ever made. Now at this point in time, crested gecko morphs were going up and up. We were having lily whites that were going for about 4 figures. The cappuccinos were going for thousands of dollars. And if you could even find a cap, well, good luck. They're going to cost you about 12 to 15 grand, depending on how nice it looks. I saw that and I said, well, these tokay geckos aren't making me eggs. They aren't doing nothing for me. I've been breeding crested geckos for a few years now. I can be a crested gecko guy. People know me specifically for my tokays to the point where every time I do shows, people are like, you do cresteds? I thought you were the tokay guy. Well, yeah, of course. Have I built my business on becoming the tokay guy and not really talking about cresteds to the point where no one knows that I actually do them? Well, yeah, of course. So why did I think it was a good idea to invest thousands upon thousands of dollars of crested geckos when no one knows that I'm a crested gecko guy? I don't know, you tell me. It was an awful decision. I went haywire with the crested geckos. My first investment was going to be a subadult lily white male for $900. Now a proven breeder male that I am selling for $600, if that shows you guys anywhere where the market was. I bought a cappuccino crested gecko for $2,000. I bought a red-based lily white for a couple $100 as a subadult, growing it out to make fraps, and then a couple of Dalmatians here and there. I went crazy with the crested geckos. Did it work out? Did I make any money? No. We were about around the time, the 2023, that's when I was buying the cappuccino. Lily White was the 2022 season, I believe. And then, of course, we were buying the lychees. I don't have my light. I brought the LED light for the show, and I haven't put it back yet because the plug is under here, and I have to lift this up. So the plug, it's dark right now. Today I'm going to put the light back on. Ended up buying some Leachianus geckos the same time I bought some Lily Whites for the price of $2,000 for a ready-to-breed adult pair, which we did produce lychees. It's very exciting. Then, of course, 2023 happened. Cappuccinos were going crazy. Then these super caps came out. A melanistic gecko controversy started showing on these guys. They look like salamanders, not cresties. Where's the crest? Where's the eyelashes? What's really going on with these? Then it hit. The nostril problems on super cappuccinos absolutely destroyed the cappuccino market, which then had an effect on the entirety of crested geckos. While the cap market destroyed, people that were buying and investing, I know people that were investing tens of thousands of dollars on cappuccino crested geckos. That animal that I bought $2 grand is now worth about maybe 600 today. It was a gigantic hit, and the crested gecko market really felt it. Only then became personified and amplified as the 2024 market hit us, and now where pretty much everything is not selling that well, with the economy in the gutter and no one really having extra money, the crested gecko market fell lower. It fell lower and lower and lower to the point where now I am selling geckos at a fraction of the cost that I used to sell them. I know everyone's like, Dakota, you're like a COVID keeper. You're just under the COVID keeper line. 2020, you can't do that because everything was flying off the shelves. Well, here's something I will tell you, old whippersnapper, because it's all the fucking boomers that get butthurt when people start breeding around this time. I'll tell you, these tokay geckos right here that I decided not to invest in for 2 years, I can sell out these these tokay geckos in under a week, and I list them at the same price that I listed them back in 2020. Everyone loves my tokay geckos. They love the work I put into them and the care that I put into them, the excitement I have for the project, everything that goes into that. So, of course, I made the mistake. I decided to follow the money. It was the absolute worst decision I ever made. My passion does not lie with crested geckos. It lies with things like my tokay geckos, and that is the biggest tip I can give anyone. Follow your passion, never follow the money, because while the money rises, the money will drop eventually. Then, of course, in 2023 is when we started Project Jungle. That then became an actual bioactive business. We started with this tank right here for my morning geckos. Don't ask me how many are in there, because honestly, I have no idea. Started with the morning geckos, started with the white tree frog, moving on to this enclosure, that enclosure. We started with the chihuahuas, standing geckos, Bert went into one, so on and so forth, until everything right here is bioactive. The macro gecko roll, bioactive, and everything over there is semi-bioactive. I love the bioactive project so much that I started a business out of it, selling my mixtures of substrates, the drainage balls, air plants, cleanup crew. I take care of a variety of isopods now. And funniest thing is, again, probably another separate video I'm going to make on this, the Project Jungle work has really changed my philosophy on how we keep reptiles in a lot of the stances that I used to take back in the day. But hey, we're here to talk about success, not philosophy, so that's for another time. The truth of the matter is, I decided to take a risk and expand this business in 2024 when no one was buying anything, and it was I was getting a lot of people that were saying, dude, don't do this, do not invest heavily. And now again, I started out spending about $2,000 getting this going, and this is in 2024 where Old Dakota is struggling. We are just treading water, we are drowning, the bills are piling up, but I decided to take one final shot before I went back to a 9-to-5 and see if I can make this bioactive project work. Of course, you guys have been amazing enough to support that project, lifting it up off the ground to the point where the bioactive project is actually much more of a success than any of my breeding projects. Using the profits I've made from the bioactive project, I did not settle everything, but then decided to reinvest once again back into what I know, what I love, the tokay gecko mutations. We used that money and then selling off the super red tokay to get in a shipment of imported tokay geckos, which I know a lot of people have mixed feelings about. Everyone really wanted to see some super red babies. I completely understand that. However, the fact of the matter is we traded one gecko and then a little bit of the bioactive money went into it in order to get a pair of paradoxes, a pair of candy dots, a Diablo, there was a Het Diablo, a Het Green Galaxy, a reduced pattern is coming. There were about 7 geckos I traded for one gecko at that point. All in all, it raised my business. It pretty much all the work that I slacked on for 2 years, I made up from doing that trade. So I'm back on top. Not the tippity top. There's a lot of people that surpass me, unfortunately, but we're gonna get back with the tokay game. Ooh, dark, spooky Dakota. Now, I definitely missed some stuff. You know, we didn't really talk about the micro wall. We got some Urodactylodes. We're now getting Clemeri, Standing Eye, Lineatus. We have some stuff that I haven't talked about in these 3 enclosures. Some very exciting stuff. The video's already done and they're doing great. I just have to do this video first because, of course, the sobriety day is coming. At this point, I know what most of you guys are gonna be thinking. That's gonna be, what is bro yapping about? He is just yap, 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 yap. What is actually he talking about? The gist of the thing and the point that I really want to drive home is the fact that I started all of this, everything you see right here, all of these amazing enclosures, the amazing species that we work with, everything, spending thousands upon thousands of dollars on animals. I started this off with 3 crested geckos. I did have a 9-to-5 at the time. I was working 2 jobs, but most of that money did not go into the project. I was not substituting a lot of money into it. Those went to more of the upkeep, the electricity, the feeders, everything like that. At the end of the day, I did not spend a single dime of my projects and what they were bringing in on anything else than to reinvesting back into the project. The point I want to drive home is what I said in the beginning. You do not need a bunch of money to get this thing started. I started with about $300-400 all said and done on 3 crested geckos and was able to build what we have today. Success is always a funny word, right? Success can mean a lot of things, and to this point in day, 10 years ago, I would have thought myself to be more successful than where I am. It's always funny because I know there are people When you climb the mountain of success, it's always a funny thing, right? Because I know I am a lot further than where I used to be, but I want to climb higher. I want to be bigger and better than where I am at. While there are people still lower than me on this success ladder, this metaphorical success ladder, that would kill to be in the spot I am. And it just goes that I really need to take the time to be grateful to where I am. I don't think that has to just stick with the reptile business or keeping with anything like that. Not having the coolest animals, not doing this, that, and the other. I have it stem from you are at a much better spot than where you were in the past. While I look at myself and think I don't have 100,000 subscribers, I don't have the million TikTok followers, I don't have this or that, you know, I'm not raking in tens of thousands of dollars a month, I'm not breeding the coolest stuff, so I must not be at a good spot, or at least at the spot I want to be. Instead, you need to switch that mindset to be like, you know what? If Dakota that just started this, when I started the DBC, no, when I started Jungle Herps, that was the original business name, I don't think Dakota could ever imagine that's where here we are today. All of these amazing species, the amount of animals we have, the incredible projects we're working with, the money that we have put into it. I don't think old Dakota would ever see it that way or think that it could get this big. Well, yes, at the end of the day, I consider myself a huge pessimist and I want to climb bigger and I want to be better. I think I need to take a step back and just think, man, I am at an incredible spot to where I thought I would be in 2019. The really ironic thing about it is the fact that I don't think I could have done this if I didn't go through what I went through back then when I was using. Because as you guys know, the people that are going to resonate with this video, you don't live in the best conditions. You go through some very hardships and you are hustling constantly to get your fix. And it's the same way with building a business, just not as detrimental to your health. It's still detrimental. I work a lot and don't sleep very often, but probably better for me, I would say. Throughout most of these years, I was as broke as could be. I treaded water for so long trying to keep this thing going, continue growing it. And the fact is, I was comfortable with that because back then I was just as broke, but figured out how to make ends meet, just like I'm doing today. There was a point in time when my house was destroyed before Casey was incredible enough to let me stay here and move all of my animals into this place where I was sleeping in my reptile building. I was sleeping in a room that stayed at a constant 80 to 88 degrees, sleeping on the hard wooden floor in a sleeping bag for about 2 months because I was not going to give up on this dream and I was going to keep it going. At the end of the day, you can be successful. You can make something out of yourself. I know how you guys are feeling if you are just cleaning up your act and starting from the bottom, because I was at the same spot. I never thought I would live to be this age, and little did I think I would ever be successful at this age and actually be doing something for my life. I had no ambition and nothing going for me, and it was at that point in time where I thought it was really just all over. At the end of the day, boys and girls, old Dakota is nothing special. I did not have an edge in this. I did not have networking capabilities to get me in on the ground floor of secret project to build this thing up. Nope, I am a uneducated high school dropout, past junkie that got my shit together and decided that I wanted to do this, and so I made it happen. That's all you really need at the end of the day. You need drive. Throw as much money as you want into a hobby like this, but unless you have the passion and drive behind you, you will not make it. Another video of just incoherent yapping all in all to really make a video that makes absolutely no sense, but I hope it resonated a little bit. Here's my final little cliche thing. Old Dakota did not decide to get his act together, get clean, move out, and try to get things going again for himself, building his life back up. You guys would not be able to enjoy the Dakota Blue Exotics channel. You would not enjoy the tokay geckos and everything that I have done in this point in time, because I would either be dead or I would be working at a cupcake store at 29. Oh, God. You'll never know what you'll be at this age, at an older age. You'll never know unless you go out and you try. It just sounds so cliche. I don't know. I'm sorry, man. I don't know. I hope this worked. I hope I helped people. It sounds cheesy and stupid, but I hope a couple of people take the message and they're like, you know what? This uneducated buffoon might actually have a point. Let's get going on this. I'm gonna follow his advice. What advice was that? I have no idea. I'm sure there's some in the yapping. That's my story for this year. 10 years sober. That is something. Damn. Nom flashbacks on how my life used to be. Jesus Christ. Thank you guys so much. I hope this helped you guys a little bit and the stuff that you may or may not be struggling through. I hope this resonates a little bit to show that just because you got yourself clean, you're not seen as a lesser human and you can build yourself up just like I did. It sounds so egotistical, I hate it. Thank you guys so much for taking the time to watch this. Back to the reptile comment the next episode. New unboxing of some incredible rare species of animals as we go with this Project Jungle stuff. I just like to make this video once a year. As always, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day to follow this video. Here's some other videos that I've done. We will see you guys next time. Until then, goodbye.